Hi guys, welcome to the third episode of okay, sorry. Hi guys, welcome to the third episode of TDS. No. Hi guys, welcome to the dark side TDS. No, sorry. Hi guys, welcome to the third episode of the dark side TDS, where we'll talk about the positives and negatives of life. And for today's episode, I'm gonna talk mainly about managing grief. Okay, talking about how I managed maybe death of like my family members and what I have learned out of it. So today's topic is kind of heavy. Trigger warning includes death, unaliving yourself, and a lot of sadness. Okay, so let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so if you have followed through from episode 1 and 2, thank you so much. This is episode 3, and as you have heard, after getting into a relationship with Eggplant, somewhere along this line this has happened. Okay, so let's talk about my dad first. Okay, so in my family structure, I think that my mom is a everything no. You can't do this, you can't do that, everything is a no. Whereas for my dad, he was a yes man. Like if I wanna go with my friends, I'll ask my dad, then he'll be like, yes, go. Then my mom will be like, no. Then I'm like, oh, who should I listen to, you know? So my dad has always been kind of supportive. Although he is a man of very little words, I would say I spend a lot of time with my mom. I know that they dote me, probably because I'm the only guy in the household. I have 2 elder sisters before me. So I would say my mom dotes on me a lot. My dad kind of, in my opinion, dotes on my sisters a little bit more. I don't know if this is usual dynamics for like Asian family or any other people, but yeah. Okay, so but then my dad has been very supportive. Okay, regardless, even that time when I felt so difficult, I wasn't sure to tell my family members about my relationship with Eggplant. I told him one day when we were on when he was driving me to her place because we needed to send her some stuff, and his response was very unexpected. He was like, you know, I trust you to make the right decisions and I'll support you. Wow, it's so powerful because he's not someone that I haven't even started. He's not someone that has a lot to speak about, and hearing him support me this way, it just feels like he's really not judgmental. And despite it being like and looking really weird, like, you know, being together with someone that is 12 years older and having a child, he still think that it's okay to support me nonetheless. I haven't even gotten into the crux of it. Okay, so I'm just trying to say that I think nonetheless he's someone that was the main breadwinner in my house because my mom doesn't really work, so he had a lot of stress, and because of that he used to have a printing company and he's the boss. He has some workers that's under him. How do I continue this? So his business was not doing very well, and then so sometimes, like, because that time I was still in uni, there were many times like in the middle of the night when I was still doing my assignment in the living room, he would suddenly pop up at 2 or 3 a.m. like pacing around. And so he scared me, of course, because like who the hell would just walk out at 2 or 3 a.m, right? And then he would ask me, why are you not asleep yet? I'm like, oh, I'm still doing my work. During that year, he lost a lot of weight. Like, he was usually, because he's quite tall as well, he's like, maybe I got most of my genetics from him, you know. So he's like 180. I'm a little bit taller than him. He weighs about 80 kg ish, but that year itself he lost like 10 kg, and you can see that he was obviously and has lost a lot of weight. Then there were a lot of speculation from my relatives saying like, oh, is he like possessed, or is he like having a cancer, you know. All these people that say this kind of things, it really affects the mentality of the person. So he had gone through lots of checks and there were no problems with his health. It was still working well. Then came a point where one of the doctors asked, would you like to see a psychiatrist instead? I think at that point of time my elder sister was present. So I think for him as an alpha man, as the head of the family, he wouldn't admit if he had a problem mentally or not, you know. So I think he brushed it away. And then, so that year, I think it was about 5 years ago, it was during Chinese New Year, like the week before. We still bought like, you know, like the Chinese New Year goods. We got the willow tree, we got all the decorations, we got all the goodies, we got all our clothes. And then one Sunday night, I was at Eggplant's place till really late, like 2 to 3 a.m. So I took a cab back. I just barely showered. I was on my bed for a really short while, and then suddenly I just took a nap for like 2 hours and my mom screamed, "Your dad has just jumped out." Everyone was shocked, everyone was alarmed. And then because we live like on the kind of high, like more than 10 stories high, we went down to the lift and we saw his body motionless with a pool of blood, face facing upwards, and he passed. So it was very emotional for all of us. We just couldn't do anything but cry. I think one of my family called the ambulance. I don't know why, the police as well. Then the weird thing was they took like an hour to come. I don't know why the ambulance took so long. And you know, at like 5 to 6 a.m. is where people start to go to work. So everyone that came down from the lift landing saw his body. And to the point that there were like reporters coming over and trying to take photo. It was a rainy day that day and he was in his pajamas and the rain was so heavy. We tried to cover the spot with like a really large cloth, I don't know from where, but the wind was so heavy and the rain was so heavy that it kept blowing it away. So we're just in the shelter watching his body being heavily rained at, and there's nothing we could do. I was still a university student at that point of time. So immediately I texted like my lecturer saying that I wouldn't come because like my dad just passed and I need some time to, like, you know, settle my stuff. So that was that. So when the police and the ambulance came, they told us that the coroner, the person that inspects the dead body, has gone off from work, and if we need to collect this body, it will take another day, because normally for like Chinese, right, we need to take the body and do like the ceremony as soon as possible. What more, it was only 4 days away from Chinese New Year, right? So long story short, we only could collect the body the next day, so everything can only be done the next day. So I went back to my bed crying for like a good 1 to 2 hours. It was at about 10 AM and I was like, what should I do? I really don't know what to do. And I still have lessons, you see, because they are like tutorials, but at that point of time I was thinking, if I don't go, then I need to like submit lots of stuff, and I really wanted an escape out of this. So I was like, I'll just go to school and be productive. So when I turned up from my Korean lesson class, my teacher was shocked because she knew that this morning I texted her and she knew that it was urgent, but I arrived, and she almost wanted to tell the whole class that my dad passed. And I stopped her there and I said, stop, don't say anything and just continue, because like, who are you to tell everyone my story, right? And I don't even know the rest of them. Then after that I had art class, and then there was just 3 hours of like pencil drawing. My teacher she was a very nice lady. She told me that, okay, you know what, just immerse in the experience and don't think about anything else. So I did that, and I felt like, oh, I was really taken out of the situation and I could think about other things. So anyways, on my way back I texted I think my close friends about it. And for Chinese, right, we normally have wait for like the the prayers and rituals. We normally have it for 5 days, but because of Chinese New Year, we do not have the liberty of time to do that. So we had to shorten it to I think about 3 days. And back then my grandma was still wasn't in a very good shape. She didn't know that her son passed. She was still at home, so at my house, and the worst part was she had dementia. So I had a helper back then that was helping my grandma while we were still handling the rituals downstairs. So as the only male in the family, I had to do all of the main things like holding the joystick. Everyone that came in, I need to bow with them, and I need to be the head and kneel in front wherever they have rituals. I think that was very triggering for me. I felt like I was okay, like whenever my friends came to pay respect, which I really appreciate, like so that I could, pick myself up a little bit. I was okay. I could even smile, I could even laugh. But the moment I'm being placed at the center with the priest or whoever chanting and saying certain ritual stuff and me holding the joystick, I would cry uncontrollably and shake. Like, this is something that I've never felt before. My dad used to tell me like, guys shouldn't cry. I was never emotional until besides, like, for other movies, right, like any sad movies, I don't really cry per se unless it's an animal. Like if it's a cat or dog, yes, if they die I cry. Like Marley and Me, I don't know, yeah. So feeling that sensation during the ritual was very new to me, because I didn't know this is how I perceive grief or receive grief. And I shook to the point there are moments where I felt I couldn't breathe, and it is very triggering for me. So we had to burn joysticks we had to burn papers like throughout. We cannot let the fire die. So I was very grateful there was this friend of mine, this male friend of mine that stood throughout the 3 days, 3 nights. He took leave from me because he was like my best friend, and he really helped to support me throughout. I was really grateful of that, you know, because I think only in this type of like situation then you'll see who's really a friend or not. There were a few friends that I kind of, you know, had a bad fallout with. They came for the week and then we had a chat about it. So it's very funny because I don't think that was the right place and time, but I was like, since you guys are already here, let me just confront you. Like, why do you do certain things like back then, you know, like years ago? Why do you do it like to me? Because like they were having celebrations and purposely did not invite me, or they were kind of sarcastic. But when they realized that, they didn't felt like their actions were sarcastic because they felt like, oh, it's just joking, but they could see how it was not how they perceived, and that misunderstanding kind of grew to a bigger one, you know, because we did not resolve it. So it's very weird that yes, that was it's not a very good place to be in that week, but I kind of got clarity with certain friends. And then I had some other good female friends that came, and one of them that came, okay, Eggplant hated her, okay, because remember, she was like, she looked through my phone and we were like bitching about Eggplant. That was the female friend. Let's give her a name because she's a close friend of mine. So her name is, let's call her K. Any food name that starts with K. Let's call, oh my god, I'm brain dead. Let's call her, wow, I suddenly have no idea. K. What food starts with K? Oh my god. Okay, whatever. Let's just call her Coconut, okay? With a K. So Coconut was like one of my best friends also since like secondary school. We sat together and we always had very good time together. So she knew whatever I was going through, okay? I didn't really get to meet her because of Eggplant. So I mean, like, but then, you know, like, if my family passed, like, she would definitely come, right? So, and honestly, I didn't know when she would come. And then so happened that when Coconut came, Eggplant was there, and Eggplant immediately made a big fuss, stomped out, and started bitching on Facebook about me, saying like how I'm like, what, disrespectful to her, or like insensitive to her, like while I was going through the week, you know. So that was so in that moment I was grieving, but at the same time I was scared. I'm like, oh no, I still wanted to salvage this situation or this relationship, right? So like at midnight when I was burning the papers with my sisters, I even asked like, should I just continue with the relationship or not? Then they kind of suggested like, maybe you should try breaking up and see what's her reaction. So I was like, okay. I mean, I've never really said that before. So on the last day, right, we had to go for the cremation, because for Chinese we cremate and then we will keep the bones so we can pray during like occasions. So on the way to the cremation, I decided to text her and I said that I think that whatever you have done during the wake is very disrespectful. I feel that you shouldn't have done that, and therefore I feel like this is my it's my limit, right? So I'm gonna break up with you. And to my surprise, her response was like, okay. I was like, what? Okay, like all these years of you trying to convince me that I'm the one, and there was no fight back even. Then I felt like, oh my god, my dad was showing me some signs, right? If this is not a sign, then what else is it? And I'm so stupid to not have like realized the red flags longer, and I really need something so big and grieving for me to notice it. And on that note, I also thank my dad for like letting me see the truth of people around me, you know. Even though it's definitely a very tough like occasion, but I saw the real nature of some people, be it good or bad, you know. And of course there were like very nasty things said during the week, you know, because it was so sudden. Like some of my aunties even like said, "You guys are the cause of his death." And I was really like, what the fuck, you know, like how could you say such a thing? And even though you're my aunties, which is his sister, like you didn't do anything also. Like who are you to just blame us on what he has gone through? Like we don't even know that he have depression. We don't even know that his business was not doing well. He was not communicating with us. So therefore, we just suck it up and we got to move on, right? So reaching the cremation, I think that is the last moment where I felt like already I have like utilized all my tears, because I think the past 3 days of crying was the most amount of tears I've ever like had, you know. And it was very very different feeling for me. My eyes were so sore, and I still had my appetite though. Like my sisters obviously didn't have any appetite. My mom, she was very angry. She didn't cry because she felt like my dad just passed such a bad case to my family. So yeah, back to the cremation. So that's the moment where you will have to press the button, and then it sends the body into the fire furnace, and after burning, that's the end of it. So as usual, I have to press the button and then see the body being wheeled towards the fire, and that was the last of it. So that was obviously very heavy for us. And I think we all have very different ways of coping with the death. Like we tried, like maybe for me, I'm a very escapism kind of person. I took part in many competitions, right? And immediately, as I told you guys, I think there was this local competition. I don't know if you guys know the Smart Locals. So I actually took part in that during that phase. And then that was a Sunday where we had to do a ritual, and I was telling my mom, I say if I actually get it through to the finals, I might not be able to come back, because you know we will get eliminated and we can go home, right? But if I made it through to the finals, I can't come back, and I probably cannot participate in the ritual. Is that okay? Because I just don't want to be disrespectful, right? My mom said it's fine if you really get it through, and true enough, I did make it into the finals. But going through that competition, I think I wasn't in the right headspace. There was one episode where there was an elimination, like the second elimination before the finals. I broke down as well, because that feeling of losing someone, even though they're just friends that I've met for a while, it really broke me. Like the moment they mentioned who was eliminated, even though the cameras weren't rolling it, I don't know, but I was just crying already, and I couldn't stop, and I had to hug, I think, James, who was just beside. Yeah, and wow, that was a really tough time. So on top of that, there were some debts that we needed to clear. With the help of family, of course. Like eventually we cleared it, you know. There are some very nice company owners, they didn't pursue the amount. It's not a small amount, like it was up to like 6 digit Sing dollars. And I think we're just grateful that at the end of the day we could clear everything. It was really a mess, you know, like because he didn't write his will, his company was still there, his equipment was still there, his employees were still there. It was very messy, but I really was not in a good headspace. But my elder sisters, both of them, they both took charge and they helped me, you know, because I really cannot function and I really could not do anything. Like imagine like having to deal with like transfer of name for the estate, the bank, closing his account, talking with the lawyer, the insurance agent. I cannot process all of this. At I think I was in my university years, my third year, and I don't know how. I'm very sure they don't know how also, but they just had to get it through and they learned a lot on the way, forcefully as well. So I was really thankful for them for pulling through all of this, you know. That's not it, guys. So remember I talked about my grandma, so she was quite old already. She was around like 90 years old. So on the second month, not second month, okay, on the a few weeks after my dad passed, right, she was sent to the hospital because she complained about like a stomach ache. We called an ambulance because she's really not mobile, she had to be on a wheelchair. So when she went to the hospital, you know, at 90, after more checks, like the doctor realized that there's more problems, like many of the organs are failing. So she was hospital bound, bedridden, and we had to visit her every 2 to 3 days, you know, and then see how was she like. I can see her slowly like fading away, you know. She just couldn't, I don't know, I felt like going in is a one-way ticket. It's not even, or there's no chance that she'll come out for some weird reason. And she was eventually on oxygen support. So for us Chinese, right, we have another ritual that's like 749 天, which is on the 7 times 7, 49 day. Is said that like the spirit will come, blah blah blah. So we had to do a ritual. That was the final ritual for my dad. Because for, I don't know why, maybe because of his religion, we had to do a ritual every week. So that was the 7th. We did 1, 3, 5, 7. Okay, so the competition was on week 3 or 5, I can't remember. And then 7 was the final one. Halfway through the ritual, there was a phone call from the hospital saying that my grandma has passed. And we wanted, I don't know, like, because we were praying for my dad, right? And on the last day, by right, you shouldn't cry because you are like trying to send him away and stuff like that. But so like my aunt was trying to say like, don't cry, don't cry. But it's so difficult, like I'm grieving for my dad and then my grandma just passed. How am I supposed to process that? And immediately after the ritual, we went home to start another week. Like, I just felt, am I so unlucky that just within 2 months of my life, I had to do 2 weeks of my close family member. Being the guy sucks, you know, because I have to be at the front of everything, and I have to repeat everything again. But life has to go on, right? So we repeated the cycle, and we did the funeral. This time around, people were like, I could hear some neighbors were like, damn again. Like, do you think we chose it? Do you think we had a choice even? It was to the point that, like, we burned incense and all. Like, even the shop owners could recognize us because we were like regulars or something, and that's not like a good thing to be a regular shop of, So, wow. It was so tough, and after the first support from people, the second time, people wouldn't be able to come back and do that for you. People wouldn't, like take offs and all. So there was significantly lesser people, and we just tried to, I don't know. I don't even know how I survived that part. It felt like a blip, Yeah, but we survived. But one thing I wanted to thank is like my other cousins or their family members, because during Chinese New Year, it's a tradition that when your family member passed, you should not be visiting because you're like spreading the bad jujus, But despite that, they welcome us with like warm hands, and still gave us like red packets even though they're not supposed to. So I'm very thankful of that. I felt like it's not a lot, or like this small little action just is so much for us, and we're very grateful for. Okay, it's a very heavy topic, and I've been crying a lot, which a lot of you have not seen that before. So, oof. The things that I've learned in this lesson as well, that I've unlocked my emotions. Now, I get very sentimental wherever the shows are talking about like family ties, especially like unaliving yourself. Or even, I get so emotional when people talk about their dreams and aspirations. I don't know why, like I maybe years of unlocking my tears, suddenly I'm just a water tap now. Like I can cry a lot easier, because when I was young I was a crybaby, like, and then suddenly I stopped it and it was like a dam, and now the river has lifted the dam, and then wow, the water tide is just flowing like Niagara Falls. But I felt that I'm a bit more human now, that I can relate and empathize people because of grief. Of course, when I was trying to escape, it wasn't a good thing, but at the point of time that was all I could do. But like 5 years from now, I'm unpacking all of these feelings because I don't think I have fully dealt with that before. So I want to thank you guys for listening this as well. And whoever that is listening to this, and if you're having a hard time, I just want you to know that you're not alone. Times can be shitty, but that's always like at the end. You will realize who's true to you, who's not so true to you. You realize who will help you in times of need. And you probably realize that you need to find different sides of yourself, and you will find different sides of yourself while surviving through this ordeal. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you if you have made it thus far, like going through all these obstacles. So therefore, going through so much, like at the age of 25, I start to be a bit more appreciative of people, because I think that life is short, you know, and I start to think about what do I really want in life, because the next moment someone is there, the next moment someone is not. And I don't want to have a moment of regret. So I decided to continue my social media stuff. That's why I decided to continue taking part in more competitions. Be it winning or losing, I feel like I'm always putting myself out there. Doing more TikToks, doing more YouTube, whatsoever. That was a little motivation. That was a little lesson that I've learned, because I don't want to wait till when I can't do it, then I regret. And I want to set things in motion, because I don't know how much time we all have, right? So that was a lesson for me, to really wake up and choose and do things that makes me happy, that I truly want in life, and to feel more aligned with myself. I would say I'm still a work in progress. Obviously, I haven't really found that, but I know that I'm working towards that, and that's what it matters. It has really changed my mindset about things in life, especially rejecting people. I start to be more I start to, you know, stand on my ground and tell people like if I don't want certain things, because I don't want to be at the losing end if I accept it. So yeah, that was a very long unpacking, crying episode, but now you guys know a little bit more about me. I still try to put on a positive front as much as possible. Despite whatever has happened, I try to embrace things positively and see the good out of everything. Like, I still believe that every situation, there's no such thing as a lose-lose. It's always a win-lose. So, you gain some, you lose some, no matter what situation it is. And there's no such thing as time lost. There's no such thing as a waste of time, because you will learn something out of it. It's just a matter of whether you have found it or not. So wow, I think I have am still trying to recollect myself. These are the two stories that the biggest, and the darkest time of my life that I don't think a lot of people know, or even if they do, you are just a selected bunch that are really close to my heart. It feels very vulnerable to be in this state, to actually tell you guys everything that I have gone through, but the purpose of doing so is that I think there are people out there with such pain as well, and I hope that if I have managed to pull through, I hope that you can as well. Yeah, I think it would be great if we can have a community that helps each other, supports each other, because I think that I don't know why being kind or nice is no longer like it's no longer a majority. It's like minority of the people are like that now, and it's very sad to see that. I still hope that I can spread positivity and light to people, no matter what I do. And I hope that whoever is still suffering, just take baby steps. Eventually you will get better, and if not, time will heal you. And then when you eventually think that it's okay to talk about it, then you can talk it out with people. I feel like the most helpful thing is talking out to people, although it can be really embarrassing, can be really shameful, but I feel like vocalizing it made me more in control of it, and made me realize things such as maybe certain things are just circumstances that I cannot control, and I shouldn't blame myself. I was overly, I don't know, maybe just blaming myself at the point of time, like why didn't I do certain things, or like why didn't I see certain signs at the middle of the night when my dad was pacing around. I truly felt like me sleeping late while doing my assignments. I think I might have certain instances where I stopped him from him unaliving himself. So maybe just that night I wasn't there, I was spending time with Eggplant, so I felt like maybe it was, I could have helped, stopped it or what, but there are things that I cannot control, and therefore I shouldn't blame myself for it. So yeah, I think grief is not a very nice feeling, but for me, I have unlocked many things, and I hope that whoever is grieving, you might unlock certain parts of yourself. You might unlock a better vision of the world, or you might unlock a better vision of people around you, and I think that that's kind of important for you to continue and maneuver this life, because we are still lucky to be here on this side. So yeah, I think more or less that's what I have for today. Although I knew that talking about such thing would definitely trigger me and cry. So yeah, ugly cried, sobbing cried. I felt a little bit of the tremble, because it was like reliving those memories again. But the more I do this, the more I can grow, and the more I can be acceptance of the fact that this has happened, and to move on. So I hopefully that brought you some courage as well, whoever that's listening and whoever that's watching. I hope that you guys, and please know that You guys are really brave, and let's wish the best for all of you. Okay, so yeah, that's the end of episode 3 of The Dark Side, where I talk about the positive and the negatives of life. So this is on grief. So the next thing I'm gonna talk about is, remember that friend like during the wake, he like accompanied me throughout the days. He was actually my best friend at the point of time. So I'm gonna talk about how we had a fallout, how the fallout was kind of messy. So managing friendships per se, and where I got cheated close to $20,000 from another friend despite being in this situation, and how she actually did so many things to me, to the point that she wanted to sue me. So that's it for episode 3, and that's the prelude for episode 4. I hope you guys enjoyed this. So if you're watching on Spotify, please follow me. If you're watching on YouTube, please comment, okay, any memorable things or anything that you have learned, and subscribe to me if so. So I wish you all a good day, and I hope to see you guys next week, okay, in this episode. Bye.